All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We are with Miss Jill McCoy today. So, if you recall, Jill has, let me get this music off real quick. There we go. Much better. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. So, we are with Jill McCoy. So, Jill is talking about flipping like a pro, how to strategically plan to avoid disasters. If you've done a flip before, or I'm sure you know people that have done flips before, you've run into issues, you've run into challenges, things happen. Flipping houses is not as easy as it looks on TV. And so, Jill, if you recall, she did an investor series or an investor training with us about a month and a half ago. And now she's coming back with flips. So, Jill actively flips homes and she's going to be talking through it. So, Jill, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. So I'm going to go over flips the way that we do them. And if you've done flips before, you probably have your own system. You should have your own system, I'm sure, because really for me, I believe it is the quality of your system will help protect you from any problems or losses. And so that's kind of what I'm going to advocate, how to build a system to be able to do this. And we're going to go through checklists and things like that I use. And if you like any of this that I have, you'd like to make recommendations, you have questions, you'd like to join our investment group, you can contact me at jill@jillmccoy.com. My phone number, if you're an agent, is obviously in the MLS, and I welcome questions. I am a teacher at heart, so please ask questions. My background in investing started long before I was in real estate. I've been practicing real estate almost 25 years. Absolutely love the industry because it feeds my ADD side. There's so many moving pieces that I never get bored. But it also feeds the side that I was a pre-law major. And so I love contracts and logic puzzles and things like that. So it's been a really interesting experience for me. But I started investing when I was still in college. I had accumulated some money enough to buy a home, and there was a duplex that came up that an architect had owned. He did all the work on it, and it just happened to be in my price range. So I bought a duplex while I was in college, lived in one side and rented out the other. And in the entire 12 years that I owned it, I only had 4 tenants. They were long-term tenants. It worked out really well for me and taught me that investing is really, really an important skill to have. Now I've gone on to flipping houses, and I love that. I think it's a great experience. So I'm going to take you through that. So why don't people flip houses? The major reasons typically are the cost issue. Flipping houses requires a lot of money. People don't usually have those large sums of money, and they feel like they have to have an extraordinary amount to back themselves up in case they get into a disaster. Market conditions change all of the time. It's something that we have to be aware of the entire time we're doing a flip, because if the market changes, is it going up and we might be able to spend more or have a little bit more cushion? Or is it going down and we need to get out of there as quickly as possible? It's a dynamic thing. Time constraints. Flipping houses can be very time consuming. Even if you hired a general contractor to oversee the entire project and you were pretty much hands off, you still need to pay attention. You still need to be an active investor so that nothing goes awry. Lack of skills and knowledge. A lot of people say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. That's why I'm doing this framework. That's why I teach these classes, because I want to arm people with the information to do it. Google, too, is an extraordinary gift that we have at this time. Back when I started doing real estate investing, it was long before Google, and you pretty much had to go by word of mouth and luck. Now you can pretty much Google anything. How much does it cost to paint a room? How much does it cost to build a retaining wall? How much for a sewer ladder? All those things, and get a pretty good guesstimation of what it's going to cost and what you need to do. Flipping also takes patience. Things don't happen when or how you want to. I would actually say it takes problem solving skills. You have to be a problem solver to be able to be a successful flipper. So let's follow some basic steps of flipping. Okay, first thing you do is you locate an off-market property. It's usually the best option. If it's already on the MLS, they already have the commissions built into it and market value built into it. So how do you find those off-market properties? That's easy. Unfortunately or fortunately, it's easy to get on everyone's list. Go to Facebook, go to Meetup, talk to other investors, go to investors meetings and just talk to people. You will get on everybody's list and you'll start to, if you start to research these properties, you'll start to understand who is a good wholesaler and who is not, who leaves meat on the bone for you to be able to do this work and who does not. Don't necessarily buy the first property. If you find someone that you like or that has property that you like, go investigate. There's no rule that says you have to buy the first property. Do your homework. That's the most important thing. But locating a property off market is usually best option. So doing your homework, do a pro forma. If you're not familiar with a pro forma, I'm going to show you what mine looks like. Do a pro forma before you ever go see the property. What's the point if the numbers don't matter? If the numbers don't look good, why should you go in and do a pro forma or do a visit? When you do your pro forma, make sure that you do your after repair value from good comps. There are all kinds of classes on how to read comps, make comps, price property, all of those things. What I do is I do a comparison to multi-sources. I'll do a CMA, current market analysis, because that tells us what the area true market value is. I'll do the tax report. I'll do Zillow, even though I know everyone knows Zillow is not a trustworthy source for realistic values. It's a source that everybody looks at. So you need to put it in there in your calculations. And I do multiple searches and then I average those prices. And if it comes up to what logically seems close in the CMA, that's what I will go with on an after repair value. But I am, even after 25 years, I'm not afraid to ask other people what their opinion is because they may know something that's coming up that I don't. So definitely make after repair value comps from good comps. Don't make it what you want it to be. Be conservative in your numbers. Be conservative in, I think it can go to 190. Can is not a good betting tool. If the numbers work after you do your pro forma, let me show you what I do on a pro forma real quick. So this is my basic pro forma. And I actually got this pro forma years ago from Jay Papasan. I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Papasan. He's co-author on The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And this is the pro forma that he used many, many years ago. Basic Excel, love Excel. It's very easy to use. So this is a flip that we just sold a week ago. 1440 Bluefield in Florissant. I put the square footage. The square footage helps me determine what my guesstimation rehab costs are going to be. And then I kind of detail what it is. It's a 3-1 purchase price. So the list price was 140. We got it for a 14% discount, 121. We put 100% down, didn't finance. Anything in green on this pro forma is what you fill in. The rest of it auto calculates. So 1% closing costs, what's the taxes for the year, loan rate if there was one, mortgage, how long you plan to hold the property. That's one thing a lot of flippers forget is holding costs. That whole time that you're working on the property, there are utilities, there are permits, there's insurance, taxes accruing, if you owe interest on your money, all of that's accruing and you need to plan for it. So I'd continue down. My projected hold time is 4 months, payments monthly, and then projected. The projected is what the 4-month would be. Goes down to my utilities, taxes.
Something on the slides aren't changing. Let me Give us just one moment, everybody.
Yeah, it would be helpful if you could see it.
Yeah, exactly.
So glad you're here. There we go. Okay, can everyone see this screen? Okay. I'm going to go ahead because I didn't hear you, but so right now I'm on utility setup fees. So that's just a general cost. So then it goes down to all in purchase cost, which is separate from holding costs. That's how much you have to spend to get into the property. Now, I know that it says the whole year of taxes, and we know that you don't pay the whole year of taxes upon acquisition. You don't pay those till December, but you need to figure it in because when you go to sell this property, excuse me, you are going to have to give a credit of the number of months that you have owned it, so on and so forth, as you know. Okay, so let's move on down here. Monthly payments go in there, average utilities, property taxes, insurance, and then the cost of repairs. So I have found doing this over the years that there's actually kind of a formula that you can use to find out what the guesstimation cost of repairs is. If you look at a property and it's going to be a really light repair, I need just paint basically and clean up the place, then that might be a $10 per square foot. And so you just take your $10 multiplied by the square footage. Medium rehab would be about 30. That's what this project was. So we used $30 per square foot. We actually bumped it up just a little bit to make it 35 and some change. So that was how we figured out what our repair was going to be, was by $30 times the square footage. It gave us a guesstimation. We will recheck that guesstimation. Right now, all we want to know is it worth even going to see this place? So we go on down farther. Hide this button there. Okay. We go on down farther and it calculates what your purchase cost in, what your all in is, your payoff, cost of sale, automatically put that in. You know, if you're doing a flip, you're going to have costs, and you can either figure that in at 6%, 5% if that's what you're going with, or if you're only going to pay the buyer's agent and you're not going to take a commission yourself, then that cost of sale could be 2.7, 2.5, whatever it is that you designate. So it calculates your all-in costs. You plug in your after repair value, and then at the bottom, that's your projected profit. So on this particular one, it was 26,000 and some change. But after we did our projected cost for the 4-month hold, it drastically goes down to 18,000. It changes really quickly. So that's why the projected cost for the time that you're going to hold it really makes a difference. If you want a copy of this pro forma, I'm happy to email it to you anytime. All right, so let's go back. Okay, so that's what I do. Pro forma. If it doesn't meet that certain number of potential profit, and for me, for most of my rehabs that I do with the investment group, my threshold is right around 30,000. It must have right around 30,000 potential profit for me to even bother for my investment group, because I have to guarantee their returns. And I want to make sure that if something changes, the cost change, that any overage, I can go into my profits if I needed to. I would go and look at this property. Afterwards, I would pay attention to everything. When I go walk this property, I would look at the interior with a checklist. I would look at the exterior with a checklist. Don't forget the exterior. A lot of people don't think about that. But if you're going to look at a property in the spring, say, and you see that the trees have no leaves, well, is that because it's dormant, or is that because it's dead? And that's going to be a huge expense later. So don't discount the exterior. The other thing that people don't take into consideration often is tuck pointing. They think of a brick house as being maintenance free. That's not true. It is low maintenance, and the maintenance is tuck pointing, and that can become extremely expensive extremely quickly. So make sure you pay attention to those kind of things, and then add some kind of an oops factor, whatever that is. If it's a 5% or a 10%, I wouldn't go as high as 20% necessarily, but you want to have a little bit of, oh my gosh, I didn't expect when I opened up this drywall that the wiring was done with extension cords and not true wiring. But it does happen. So make sure. If after, let me give you an idea of what I do for that too. So if once I do the pro forma and I go see the property, then what I would do is something like this. Oh, never mind. It's not going to let me. Let's see. Yes, it will. There we go. Have faith. Okay, so what I would do, this is 1440 Bluefield. It's part of the pro forma. You can see I've got tabs below. I keep that document connected and live with all the different things that I have going on. And I would just itemize, just go down and itemize things that I know. I know I'm going to have an occupancy. I know I'm going to have demo, exterior painting, landscaping. I knew I needed a garage door, exterior carpentry, and you just start guesstimating. And for me, it becomes kind of another logic puzzle where I will estimate the price, and then on the next side, I'll put the actual price. Now, this particular one, I did fill out the estimation. We went on and used a different source for the end product, so you'll see that the actual price is a heck of a lot lower. That's not always how it works, but it is kind of a fun thing, and it really sharpens your skills to be able to guesstimate how much a piece of the project will cost, and then to get it verified by bids and actual work. I think that makes you become a better flipper because you can guesstimate prices much faster. Heating, cooling, electrical, miscellaneous plumbing, and then I go to the interior, and each little thing, kitchen, stove, gas stove kit. I mean, just all the little details, as much as you can do when you get back after you've seen the property, detail it, because what you want to see is, does this guesstimation price equal, or is it close to, let me see if I can get back to that. Nope. I might need your help, Mike. Okay, let me. Hey, Mike, can you come get this screen back up? I'm sorry. Fortunately, there's only one of those. There we go. Look at you. Fantastic. Okay. So let me just go back over that real quick. All right. So locate the property. Do your pro forma before you go see the property. If the numbers work, go see it. Develop a good evaluation walkthrough sheet. That's what I'm talking about when you go through and you look at everything. It doesn't have to be fancy, and you can get those online for free. Pay very close attention to the exterior too. Once you do that, go back and reevaluate your numbers, paying attention to the exterior and interior. If those numbers work, if your estimated cost is pretty close to your guesstimated cost, that's reinforcement that you're doing the right thing, that you're on the right track. Will there be more surprises later? Don't know, but you're on a pretty good start. Once you do that, now you're ready to make your offer. Remember, when you're making your offer, you always make your money on the buy. And I'm sure you've heard that a lot. What does that mean? Well, let's say you bought the property for $100,000. You were able to sell it for $200,000. Great. That's great. You made $100,000. But if you bought it for less, would you make more? Yes. So you always make your money on the buy. So that's why you never skip inspections, and you always do your pro forma. Okay. And speaking of which, always include an inspection clause on your offer, even if it's coded. Like, I have a real estate friend who, on his building inspections, he will say, we're going to complete our inspections within 3 business days. Great. And we're only going to do a sewer lateral. Great. But to do a sewer lateral, you've got to go through the entire house. So without saying, I'm going to do a whole house inspection, just the sewer lateral, it makes it sound so much better, but you are able to do the whole inspection also. So, okay. All right. So here we go. Inspections. Let's talk about inspections. Get your inspections. End of story. Building, termite, and sewer lateral are a must. Even if you don't find anything, great, you are in a good position. But what if you don't do them and later your buyer finds these things, or you find them in the middle of your project and you didn't account for them? The $800 to $1,500 or whatever it is that you're going to pay on your inspections is worth it. That is your insurance policy to get the things ready, so you know what you're walking into. All right. After your building inspection, reevaluate your numbers again. If it's within budget, proceed. If not, renegotiate. If they can't renegotiate at your price, leave. Make a detailed list of repairs that your contractor will complete. So this is going to take me off to another itemized list. Hopefully, we can get back to the other. But it's just basically this. Everything. So it's exterior, broken down, everything. Not only to install the garage door, but to get the garage door opening, all the little details that go into it. If you're going to put a new front door on, does it need to be painted? Do you need to get a new doorknob? Do you need to get new hardware? All of those kind of things. The more detailed you can be, the closer to your exact numbers it's going to be, and the less likely it's going to fall all the way down here after the project is done in what I call... there's the holding cost punch list. So punch list items in this particular project was over $7,000. Punch list items are those items at the very end of the project that you have to clean up. The doorknobs, the cabinet knobs, anything that you didn't, switch plate covers, anything that might happen during reconstruction. For instance, on this particular project, we had a situation where there were some junction boxes that were not covered in the attic. So we had to have our handyman go up there, cover those boxes, take pictures that was done. In the process, he accidentally put his foot through the ceiling. So now that goes on our punch list. We have to repair the ceiling. We had to mud and tape it. We have to paint it over, all of those things. Not expected. So definitely something that we want to pay attention to. Okay, now let's see if I can get back to that. There we go. Look at that. All right. Okay, so after you go back through your numbers, evaluate, you've made an itemized repair list, then get bids for your project. Now, this is all before you've actually purchased the property, but you're under contract and you're going through the inspection period. You know what the inspector's telling you need to do. You know what you need to do based on what the comps look like and so on and so forth. Now you need to get your contractor's agreements in place because time is money. You want to have this in place to go day one. Look at the contractor's agreements and to see that they have insurance. You get your contractors from other investors who do good work. If you're not sure, don't use them. It really is not worth risking your project. Okay, so now we've done our inspections. We've talked to our contractors. We're pretty clear about what it's going to cost. We have, we're good to go. So now we're going to closing. At closing, don't forget to file a notice of intent to sell immediately. The rule is that you have to have a filed notice of intent to sell at least 45 days before you go to market. Now, the reason that intent to sell is there is that title companies want to know that all of your contractors have been paid. There are no liens on the property before they offer a warranty deed to the next person or release you from it. So that's what that notice of intent does. It puts out a broadcast that we're selling this house. Anybody who has a legal or believe they have a legal claim on it, come forward now or forever hold your peace. So that has to be done. Do it at closing. You can do it at least 45 days. So do it. Work out a schedule at closing or before. Work out a schedule of how you intend to complete this flip. So certain things have to be done in certain order. Obviously, demo comes first. Well, what comes after demo? Plumbing and electrical. You've got the walls open. Nothing has been painted or rehabbed. So if the plumber has to go in and dig in a little bit more, or the electrician has to pull wires or whatever, go for it. It's all wide open, or you can open up even more during demo. So first things to be done are plumbing and electrical, and those are usually your most expensive items. So you want to get those out of the way first. So you work out your schedule, and then you begin work as soon as possible. Have the utilities on before close or after closing. Have the contractor's agreements in place, and designate a safe space, a garage or a shed, to keep your products. So that's the first thing I do. When I start the project, I will either get the garage door replaced and the garage back door lock changed, or some other designated place that I can have product delivered directly to the house and have it there when the contractors are ready to use it. We put the paint there, we put anything that is of value in there as long as it's safe. And then you have to determine what are the other precautions that you need to do. Do you need to put cameras there? It's up to you in the area that you're in, but you need to have a safe place on site to have product delivered. Otherwise, you're going to be running product all over, and that's a time constraint. Don't do it. Designate a safe place from the very beginning, right when you're starting the work.
Hey, Jill, we have a question on the notice of intent to sell. Where do they file that at?
With the title company.
With the title. Okay.
Yeah. When you're sitting down at closing, when you're getting prepared for closing and you schedule your time, let them know, hey, I'd like to file an intent to sell. They'll have it all prepared for you.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people on here, a lot of agents on here, that's something that's important to remind your investors of as well when they're buying homes to flip. This gets missed a lot, and it can hold up closing. So make sure you educate your clients that they need to file this when they're intending to flip a property.
Yeah, very, very, very important, because most novice flippers don't know how to do that. The investors don't know how to do that. And they will get blindsided. They will believe it's your fault that they cannot close when they're under contract. You can't close. It has to be out there 45 days before it goes under contract. So why not do it at closing? Because you know your flip is going to take at least 45 days. So my advice, and it's easy. It's easy. Just let them know that's what you want to do. They will have it all arranged and you're done. Okay. Thanks for the question, by the way. Okay, so this is a sample schedule of this particular project. Now, this project, as you can tell, took about 45 days. That's a quick project. That's a very, very quick project. Typically for projects, I will say, 4, maybe 5 months, depending on the extent. And when I say, 4 or 5 months, that's start to finish. So you figure in 45 days contract to close and back out from there. This particular one seemed like a slam dunk. The house was in really pretty good condition. We just needed to do some cosmetic things. We did know that we needed to replace the sewer lateral and the main stacks, but we were going to do that at the very beginning. It's not going to hold up things. So that's how we planned it. So we closed on April 5th. And then as you can see in the notes, the first week, we couldn't really do much because part of our negotiations is that the family could stay there that last week and then move out. So we did what we could that first week, just getting bids, making sure that permits were in line, picking out paint colors, all of those things. Excuse me. And that was our time to have the contractors go over there and give their view if they couldn't get in before. We were ready to go on the 15th. The 15th, the dumpster was dropped. We had it for a week. So that was our week of demo and plumbing. You can do demo and plumbing at the same time. You just kind of plan around what you need to have access to, do that area first, and then move down to lower levels or exterior or whatever. Once that was done, then it was kitchen and bath time, painting the exterior, painting, and you'll hear this both ways. Which comes first, refinishing floors or painting walls? If you talk to the painter, they want the refinished floors done first. You talk to the refinisher of floors, they want the painting done first. My 2 cents is get the painters in first, because what their complaint is about the refinishing is that dust gets on the walls. Okay, I can wipe down the walls with my professional cleaning before I put it on the market, but it's really difficult for me to get those paint spots up from the newly finished or newly laid floors. So mine, paint, then floors. Excuse me. And then in this particular one, once we had all that done, then it was time for our punch list items, all of those last minute items that you don't do until the very end, such as doorknobs, just any little thing, switch plates, making sure that the electrical outlets are all in place, the smoke detectors, anything that you know you need to have for the municipal inspection, because right after that, and usually when I have the staging in place, I'll order the municipal inspection. And the reason I wait till that time is because, first of all, I want to make sure the work is done. And number 2, I want it presented in the best light. So once you've got the staging in there, it's going to look really good to those municipal inspectors. They will ask you, is anybody living here? Even though you only stage 2 or 3 rooms, they have to ask. So, but it does look a lot better. And I found that it goes a little ways to getting the inspections through. So on this one too, let's see if I go to the next one. Okay. So while we're doing the rehab, pay attention. It is not a hands-off project. This is, if you think that it's like giving your money to a stranger and walking away and thinking that they're going to come back with more money for you, not going to happen. So pay attention, be a visible investor. Make sure that you keep your work site clean. Not only does that help with them doing a better job, but it also is a good safety precaution. And if your contractors are keeping the workspace clean, they're usually doing a better job. Because if they're sloppy on that, they're going to be sloppy on their work. Set regular meetings and review with each contractor. Have a regular Thursday meeting. Have a regular whatever it is. It could be Zoom, but I want you to go there in person and see what's happening and making sure that what they said they were going to do, they do. Do not take it at face value when they say, yes, this is what we're going to do. And yes, it's in writing. Happened in this particular project. We wanted the floor refinisher to do so it's basically the entire main floor except the kitchen and bathroom. The kitchen had a really light Formica floor, great shape. We were going to leave it. We wanted the rest of the main floor to be natural stain, a very, very light color to match it. And the refinisher took it upon themselves and stained it mahogany. Definitely didn't match. Fortunately, it flew. The buyers were okay with it. I was furious, but at that point, it would have cost us more in time and getting it redone than just pushing on through. So make sure you go and see the project. And if there is time to change it, that's going to be the time to do it. So be a regular visible investor. Pay contractors in step. Each step must be approved, reviewed, and approved. So in steps, like they might require 20% down or even 50% down. That's great, but you never pay them the whole amount until it is completed and either you have your lien waiver in hand or some kind of a paid invoice as you release the money. Be prepared for unexpected things and be a problem solver. This is the most important quality I think that a real estate agent can have, because our job is nothing but problem solving all the way through. Stay calm. There isn't a problem that can't be solved in one way or another. And if you panic, it's really hard to think clearly. So be a problem solver. Go in to this whole thing with multiple exit strategies. You never want to get caught like in 2008 where the market just shut off and you have no way out. Always enter a investment, just like we say with buyers, always buy with resale in mind. Same thing for us. Always buy with multiple exit strategies in mind. If the market tanks, turn it around and make it a rental, or sell it as a lease purchase, or make it a bed and breakfast. There's so many different ors that you can use. Make sure that you've thought those things through before you close. Watch the market, reevaluate your numbers. The market and the budget change in real time. So we see the market going up and down. That changes your budget too. What you thought was going to sell for $200,000 has just tanked and prices are lowering. You're now at 180. What does that do with your profit margin and your budget? Makes a huge difference. Instead of getting granite countertops, you might get butcher block countertops. It all depends on the project, but you've got to make these decisions in real time. And let's say the market is increasing. That's great. Maybe you can do a few more nice finishes that will make it even more appealing to the buyer. Whatever it is, pay attention. This thing costs more. Some other things are going to have to give. It's a live, real-time event. Keep communication and all records of change. This is really important if you're working with a partner or a group or whatever. Everybody has to understand what's going on, and it has to be designated who can call changes. Changes are expensive, so make changes carefully. Collect lien waivers from all contractors and be prepared to exit the property as quickly as possible. Time is money. End of story. Get in, get out as quickly as possible. That's why the planning on the front side helps a lot, because while you're doing the project, life still goes on. You still have to work. Everything else still spends, and this needs your attention. So make sure that you have a system of, okay, I'm paying you. When I pay you, I want to get a lien waiver. You don't have a lien waiver. Great. I can Google a lien waiver, set it up in DocuSign or .loop, send it over to you. You sign it. I got it. I can send it to the title company if I need to. Whatever you need to do, get those things done in real time. Otherwise, you're scrambling at the end. Nobody likes that. Finish on time, stay in budget, and on schedule. Very simple, straightforward, simple, not easy. Get municipal inspections before you release your contractors. If you think that what you're going to come up with in a municipal inspection, because most of the time they look at safety items and that's all, then you're pretty good with a handyman. But let's say that you're in University City, you're in Baldwin, you're in all these places that are notoriously difficult to deal with. They may ask you to do a lot more than you expected. So you need to have your contractors available. And if they're off doing another job, you may be stalled and waiting for them to come back for your project to be able to be finished. Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, Jill, we actually have a couple. We've got, and look, not that necessarily pertaining to what you just went over, but there are some things
That's okay.
here. How do you accurately estimate renovation cost and ensure you stay within budget?
Good question. So accurately is not really a safe word to use because you don't know what accurate is until you finally get there. What you do is you have an educated guess of what it's going to be. So I start with a pro forma, and when you look at a project, I mean, we have seen enough houses to be able to say, oh man, this house looks great. I'd paint these walls and that's pretty much it. And you can guesstimate on your first, before you ever go see the property, guesstimate by the $10 per square foot. Or if you're unsure, $30 a square foot. If you think it's a medium rehab, just use that as a guideline. If that number to start with works, nothing's prohibiting you from going to look at the property. When you go look at the property, you'll be able to walk in and go, oh, I smell mold. There's a water problem. Use your senses. If you're still not sure, then talk to other investors and ask what they would, ask them to go with you. It doesn't hurt to ask for help. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Then once you've seen it, you go back and review your numbers. You made notes of what needs to be done. Oh, I didn't expect that the windows were going to have to be replaced. How many windows are there? Okay, let's Google. How much does a window cost to replace in Missouri? On average, X. Okay, multiplied by the number of windows. So you just kind of do investigations on that to get your numbers as accurate as you can. But you're not going to know your accurate numbers until after you've done the project and they're validated. You want to go in with pretty good guesstimation. That's why I have you do the number so many times. And if the number keeps coming back to that, you're in pretty good shape. And then once you start getting your bids, you kind of have an idea of what you want to spend. So let me go back here real quick. Let me see if it's this one real quick. Come on, buddy. Open up. Okay, it's not going to do it. That's fine. Okay, so basically what I do then is I go through and I make a list of every single thing that I think needs to be done. Some things I will group, like painting the interior of the house. I know it's 1,092 square foot. Google how much does it cost to paint the interior of a house in Missouri. It tells me, let's just say $5 per square foot, multiply it by $5 per square foot. I expect that it's going to be, for this property, let's say $7,000. That's my guesstimation. Then I start getting bids from multiple painters that I trust. I don't just get one bid unless I know for a fact that nobody's going to beat their bid and that they do great work because they've worked with me before on multiple projects. Otherwise, I always get 2 to 3 bids on everything, and then compare and have conversations with these people and check their references. Give somebody a call. I know it sounds like a lot of time at work. You do it now or do it later. You know, it's either do your investigating now or do your litigation later. We don't want to do that. So do your investigating now on the front side. That's how you would get your accurate numbers.
That's good. That's really good advice. And we have one more right now. It says,
Sure.
what are the most common financing options for flipping properties?
Most common financing options are home equity loan. That's really popular because you can use that money and pay it back, and then it sits there without accruing interest if you're not using it. Interest rates are a little higher on that than maybe refinancing your house and cash out refinance. You're just going to have to explore your options. That's probably the safest and easiest one. I would say then on the spectrum of the hardest and be most careful, but very, very, very common, hard money. Hard money lenders are those individuals or companies that are willing to loan you money with conditions. Conditions vary anywhere from a flat rate of interest that you're going to owe them at the end of the project for the whole amount that you borrow, not just the purchase, but also the rehab if you do that. But a lot of them also put in conditions like points. And points are equal to, the 1 point is equal to 1% of the cost. So if you finance the purchase and the rehab, it's 1% of the whole thing. That's quite a lot of money when you're paying interest and points. So be careful and make sure whatever system you go with, you figure that into your pro forma. That's cost. That's holding cost. That has to be figured into your numbers. And you can gauge which one is the right one for you by plugging what it would cost you into your numbers. This one I'm paying 8%. This one I'm paying 6%, but points, the 6% plus points is more expensive than the 8%. And you'll be able to see that. Numbers don't lie. Rely on your numbers. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I'll let you know as more come in.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So we went through this. Let's go to the next. Okay. So now we've completed the project. We've gone through, we stayed in budget, we stayed on time, we watched the market, all of those things. We are priced moving forward. We know that we're going to be priced competitively. So now it's time to shine. Show them what you have. Professionally clean and stage before photos. I really think that it pays. I think that staged properties sell much faster and for a higher price. And you can look at the statistics. It is true. Now, does every project merit staging? Maybe not. Maybe some are really inexpensive and you can't afford the staging. That's okay. I still would suggest that you bring 1 or 2 items into that room, because when you take a photograph and there's nothing in the room, it's really difficult for a person to determine size and scale. And especially if you've got a tiny room, if you put even a big mirror in there, it gives them a better idea of size and scale. And it also gives more of a lived-in feel. And people buy with emotions. They want to feel comfortable. They want to feel good. They want to feel something. So stage it for that. Clean beats new. Make it shine. Get the windows cleaned. Get the ductwork cleaned if you need it. It's expensive, so do it only if you need it. This last house that we just did on Bluefield was bad. It was so bad. I don't know how they lived in that smell. It was animal and water and just so many things. So we ended up getting the ductwork clean even after we had all the rehab and the paint, because cleaning and paint did not get rid of that, but cleaning the ductwork and sanitizing it did. And that's about $500. So it is not cheap. Get rid of the odors, though. That makes a big difference. Professional photos and marketing. People buy with emotions. What's your story? Your marketing script should be like a story. What's great about this property? It's walking distance to the parks. You can go to the coffee shops. It's a short commute to downtown. What is the story behind this property that makes it special? People buy with emotions. Feed them that story with pictures and marketing cues. Set up an open house event, and there are all kinds of classes about how to make an open house an event. It should be an event. You should have a lot of people there. This is when door knocking is fun. Like I said, I always make up personal invitations to every single neighbor in the neighborhood, and I go by, knock on the door, and give it to them. That is so well received. They're curious as heck what you're doing in that house. They know the people that lived there before. They know that whole story. Now they're curious as to what's going on today. How is it improving their neighborhood? How does it look? All of those kinds of things are interesting to them. And the buyers that come through the open house don't know that those are not other buyers. They do not know that that is not other competition for them. So having them think it's competition, great. It builds that auction effect and you'll get more money. Plus, you don't know who's coming through that open house that's a neighbor who wants to sell themselves, but they didn't want to talk to you until they saw what kind of work you did. So open house is a great event for your next project and for this one.
Hey, Jill, you have a question. What are you typically budgeting for staging?
Well, typically I budget between $1,800 and $2,300.
Okay.
And I put that right in my budget from the very beginning. Staging is a part of the exit strategy every single time. So if it doesn't fit in my budget at the very end, after all the costs have come in and it's the last thing, it's going to come out of my profit. It's one of those non-negotiables. You've got to have, you're putting all this time and energy into it. You really want to stage it well. Now, that's professional staging. I have had tiny houses in the city where I've brought in my own furniture and stage it that way, just a couple of rooms or outside or whatever it is. Or McCoy Moving and Storage. I don't know if they still do, but they did have a showroom where you can go in and you can rent furniture. They'll deliver it to your house. You arrange it, and it's pretty nominal fee. All kinds of ways.
We've used them in the past as well. It works pretty well.
Yeah, it's great. And they have, they don't have high-end stuff, but that's okay. You're doing it on a budget. So do what your budget allows.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. When it's all said and done, be sure to thank all your contractors. Be kind, be generous, and your team members. Anybody that was on your team, reevaluate the process, get fair and honest feedback for what went well and what didn't go well. Because what didn't go well is an opportunity to change. We don't learn if we don't make mistakes, right? Because if we didn't make a mistake, why change it? We don't learn. Mistakes are okay. Mistakes are the opportunities that we have to make it better the next time. So thank everybody, have those good conversations, and repeat. Do it again. It's really good. The more you do it, the better you get. The more systematized you can make this, the easier it is for you to do it. If you're interested in our investment group projects, I do run investment groups, and we do group projects because I teach this at the community college, and I've taught this class for 8 years. And what was frustrating to me was that people would take my investment classes, and it's just an overview. Those are 2-hour seminars. They would take the classes and they would take follow-up meetings and say, this is great, but never do anything. And I found out the reason was it's too expensive for most people to try to do by themselves. And nobody wants to do it by themselves because it's scary and they don't know what to do. So what I've developed is an investment group that works on specific projects. So like Bluefield, There were 6 investors that I had. We acquired the property ourselves, myself, and then the investors funded the rehab. So we raised $3,500 or $35,000 from the investors. It's a minimum of $5,000 apiece, and they have skin in the game. And then every Wednesday we have a Q&A on Zoom about what's going on, what the problems are. And every Friday they get an email. This is what we did this week. These were our problems. This is how we handled it. This is what we're going to do next week. And it has links to where we got the products, what contractors we used, all those kinds of things. So basically it's an educational process where the investors get paid back 10% on their investment, and they get the education. So it's a great way to go. We're currently looking for our next project. Like I said, our last project just closed last week. So if you have anything, or if you want me to look at something with you, I'm happy to do that and brainstorm. I'm a teacher, so I'm here. And that's about all I have to say.
That's very cool, Jill. I think that's a great value to add and have agents learn and make money while doing it. And a lot of great information. Thank you so much. And we do have other questions, if you don't mind. One of the questions is, what are the best methods for finding undervalued properties?
So the best method for finding undervalued properties are through groups that are not related to real estate, such as church. If you belong to a church, synagogue, whatever, and you have community groups there, and I'm not talking about being predatory, please do not. I am a non-confrontational, non-predatory person. So what I mean by that is these are people that know and like and trust you because of your association with the church. And they know of people who are in need of getting rid of their property, whether they're elderly or having difficulty or whatever, and they have no idea what the value of the property is. That is your opportunity to go and help them. You know, it's not an opportunity to, again, to be a predator and say, you have no idea, you're in a bad strait, I want to take advantage of you. No, this is an opportunity to help them out of that situation. Yeah, you're going to get a great deal. And that's very, very, very good. That's a good place to go. Meet up. So it's looking in places where you don't normally think you're going to find them. Do you know divorce attorneys? Do you know morticians? Do you know accountants? These are all people that know people who are in distress that you can come and help and find those properties that are undervalued. Once they've gone to the wholesalers and once they've gone on market, there's already a value placed on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely does. And that's good advice. And one other question we have is, how do you prioritize which renovations will add the most value to the property?
Look at the surroundings. So if I go into a house in Jennings, I'm not going to automatically think we need granite countertops. That's just not the market. So I would go take a look at some other open houses or other properties in that area and find out, okay, what is the leading feature in these houses? And when you go to the open houses, listen to what people say. Oh, I love these low maintenance floors. Okay, that's important to them. Oh, I love the newer windows. Whatever it is, that's how you prioritize what you need to put into this. So you think minimal, because you don't want to over improve. Think minimal. What are the things that would make this best? And again, clean beats new. So when you come in, there's a tendency to go, oh, well, I need to move this wall and I need to do this and I need to do that. Slow down. You want to keep as much as possible because change is expensive. So can you clean this area up, paint it, and look newer versus taking that whole wall out? That's thousands of dollars savings. So make a list of all the things you want and then prioritize those things. What do you think will make this sell the most? Knowing that people buy with emotions and people want to move in on Friday and go to work on Monday. They want no muss, no fuss. That's how you prioritize your list.
Have you found that it's gotten easier not to make what I'll call somewhat emotional decisions? Because I know that's a big part of flipping as you get into the project and then you want to it's easy to over improve.
It is so easy. And to a certain degree, what has really helped me get the emotions out of it is doing the pro forma.
Hmm.
Do that before you ever go look at the property, because I love architecture. I love it. I love all the different designs, all the different things that we have here. And I will walk into a property and go, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this. Nothing to do with how it should be done. I lead with my emotional mind sometimes. That's okay. I learned a long time ago, you can't control your first thought, but you can control your second. Go in, love it, adore it. Don't lead with that though. Think about it. Okay, that's great. And I love these things. But as an investor, how am I going to walk away with the most profit with what I have to work with? What do I really need to change or improve for the buyer to be interested in this property? And then that's what you have to go with. You cannot stay in your emotional state. You will not make good decisions. So that's why I do the numbers so many times, because the numbers are going to kick me in the teeth and say, Jill, you want this more than it wants you.
That's good. No, that's fantastic advice. And one last question we have: what are the biggest risks you've encountered, and how did you overcome them?
So I would say the biggest risks that you encounter are plumbing and electrical. Definitely. Plumbing and electrical are your biggest ticket items, and those are the things that are going to bite you. And so that's why I get the bids before we have closed. I try to get the bids right after we have the building inspection, have those building inspections so you know what you're walking into, because they will tell you this is an outdated electrical box. Okay, outdated electrical box, 2,500. Okay, that doesn't sound like a huge amount. If your electrical box is outdated, what about the wiring? What about the service in? That's going to add up. Now you're at $14,000. Make sure that when you hear that you need a new electrical box, you talk to your favorite electrician. Okay, well, I've got this building inspection, and the inspector noted that this is a Federal Pacific box. Everybody knows Federal Pacific is a fire hazard. We got to replace it. Okay, good. We get that. Your electrician is going to start talking to you about, okay, well, how does the service line look? And you can only tell them so much. A lot of times they will go out there, take a look at it, and give you a quick bid. That's how you avoid those things. Can you always? Not always. I mean, sometimes you're going to find out, like I did, that the wiring behind that drywall is extension cords and not real wiring, and that's going to add into your expense. That's why you have that oops factor of 5 or 10%, so that you can accommodate those items. But overall, just having your building inspection and talking about your building inspection with your contractor is really important. That's why I say attend them. I mean, we as agents don't attend our building inspections. Usually we're not supposed to, because we're not supposed to talk, but go to your own and ask questions. They are there to help you. So make sure that you get their advice. A lot of times they have been flippers themselves, which is great, because then you can say, okay, how much is that? The other thing is, when you do your inspections, find inspectors who will also say, this is the problem, this is about how much it's going to cost. So for instance, I do all of my sewer lateral inspections through Taupe Sewer Lateral, because they do that. They tell me what the problem is, and they tell me how much it's going to cost to fix it. That's all you can do. Ask questions.
That's great. Jill, this was awesome. Thank you so much. This is a really like a wealth of knowledge, great information. And for everybody that's interested in joining Jill's investment group, you get a return, you get educated on flipping properties, because we know there's so many people that want to flip properties, but they don't know where to start. Send Jill an email, jill@jillmccoy.com. And Jill, we have one more question. Just pop in. 5 or 10% of the purchase price for your variance of what you're budgeting So like on your overage budget, right? Like you're going to anticipate things to pop up, your oops budget. That's 5 to 10% of your budget, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So not the
Five,
sale price, not the purchase price, it's
no,
of your budget.
that's correct.
How often do you exceed that 5 or 10%?
I would say, okay, so like this, not very often, not very
Good.
often at all. I would say maybe 1% of the time, and I take that to doing the numbers so many times.
Mm-hmm.
There have been more properties that I have nixed than I have purchased.
And that's the way it I believe in that. And that's the way it should be. And
Yep.
because you're running this as a business. And so I love that you know your numbers, you're taking time to dig into your numbers. And it's not just like, well, I'll buy it for 100, I'll put 30 into it, I'll sell it for 175. We're just ballparking what we're like. You're really fine tuning, because also all of those little things, and I will say just from personal experience, like all of those little trips to Lowe's to pick things up like screws and doorknobs or this or that, or I need new hinges now, or whatever the case may be, that can add up. And all of a sudden, those little trips to Lowe's that we didn't calculate for are now thousands of dollars, or sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, depending on the project. So I love the fact that you're taking all of that into account. Your spreadsheets are fantastic. We had some agents that commented on, getting access to those. So we'll let you know on those as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I love that you're very detailed in your projects. And it's not just like, oh, we'll put X in, sell it for this, and life will be good.
Yeah, I mean, not only would that make me extremely nervous, but it's very inefficient. The thing, you want to systematize this. So I keep all of my notes from all my rehab projects, and I can go back to them and go, how much did I pay for that? What did I use for the dishwasher here? Where did I get that good sale? My memory is not going to be that good to remember all those details. So I have to have them in my computer somewhere. So I have a file for each project, and all of those things are noted. When I buy something from Wayfair, I just grab the copy and paste the information off the search bar and put it as a link right there on that item. And so all I have to do is click on that item. It opens up what I bought, where I bought it, how much I bought it for.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, very, very helpful, Jill. We really appreciate you taking the time. We got a lot out of your last training. Certainly have gotten a lot out of this training. So as always, thank you for contributing and being a part of Network Global.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody being on. Thank you.
Thanks.